Welcome, friends. We are so excited to have you here for our Your New Now live celebration. Woo-hoo! This is so fun. I'm Wendy Blight, and I'm on staff with Proverbs 31 Ministries. And here's the thing. I've got 3 words for you. We did it.
Heck
We
yes.
did it. We finished. Woo-hoo! And the reason it's so exciting is because we've been going 4 weeks and studying transition seasons, which from all the comments that I've interacted with, a lot of us didn't even know there was such a thing. Mm-hmm. So Nikki, you taught us something new. But even more than that, Nikki, I think what you taught us is that when we walk through these seasons, God and our faith are such an important part of that process. But the other gift you gave us that so many women commented on was that you just tucked in the pages this beautiful Bible study on the life of Moses. So we got to really live one of God's greatest men walking through these transitions as a model, in addition to your wonderful stories. So one of the first things we have to say now that I've sort of been through the introduction is there's a person missing from this space, and it's Melissa Taylor. She was sick, and to protect all of us, she is not here, but she is in the comments. So
hey, Melissa.
Yeah, hey, Melissa. We miss you so much. And so, but also here with me, we have Jessie Bigelow.
Also known as Melissa Taylor.
Yeah, she's playing the role. So here's the thing about Jessie. If you've been with us a long time at OBS, anything live we do, anything video we do, anything social media we do, anything that looks pretty, it's all because of Jessie. So thank you for that.
You're very sweet.
And then, of course, we have Nikki, the author of our book, and we thank you for making the trek in from the farm to be with us. We're so excited. And so we thought it would be fun for us to share our seasons that we're in, and while we're doing that, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how the comments work, but right now, if you want to just share your season that you're in, please do that. And I'll start, and I am in the cultivation season, and I didn't know that's what it was called, but I knew right away. And Melissa Taylor is too. And what was, even though it's had its hard times, I think my favorite thing about the transition season is all those gifts and talents that God tucks inside of us. This is the season where we get to watch them flourish and grow and develop. And I think that's what I've loved about this season.
Yeah,
so
that. Well, Wendy and Jessie, we were talking before we came on here live, and I said, oh yeah, I'm in a season of cultivation. And then I sat down in this chair and I thought, you know what? My season has changed since we started this online Bible study, and I have moved into a season of development. And I know I'm in development because I'm also in therapy right now. And so
God bless all the counselors in the world.
My counselor is definitely showing me some areas that need some developing in my life. And development isn't always a bad thing. I think sometimes we hear that and we think, oh, that's such a negative thing. Development is a really good thing because it means that God is doing something new to get us from here to there. But first, it has to be developed. And I share in the book that sometimes development seasons feel like a bulldozer came in and just kind of ran over us. I had these 3 little boys that we adopted our home, and it kind of feels like a bulldozer came in, and it's a good bulldozer though. But yes, it has dug up some things in me that needed some developing. So here I am, right here as we end the study. My season just like that.
What you said in your book, like I think you said, like I hope by the end of this I'll have my boys home.
Yes.
And like, what is that? It's been like a week, 2 weeks?
No, 6.
Oh my gosh, just kidding, guys. Time flies over here in all the Bible study world.
Yes,
so like, what a beautiful thing.
Yes,
it really did come to fruition.
It did. It happened. God allowed it to happen. So,
yeah,
here we are.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, Jess, share yours.
And so just so y'all know, I'm going to be looking over here a lot. I'm also like running everything. I'm paying attention to you in the comments also. But my season is finished, which is really crazy. I didn't necessarily know what that meant. At the very beginning of the study, Nikki has a quiz. And so all of us, when we were preparing to do the study, we all did the quiz. And I got finished, and I was like, what does this even mean? Like, I don't know what this means. Of course, obviously, reading the book, it all kind of came into mind. But I have, you know what? I'll show you. So I brought a little prop with me today, but it's my daughter's handprints. We literally did these yesterday. But she's not a baby anymore. She's a toddler. And so I really feel like that is kind of showing what the finished season is kind of meaning for me. It's moving out of that really snuggly, but also really hard baby season and moving into this totally different season and figuring out how to do that because it's so beautiful and so hard. Like, her handprint is huge, you guys. I know it probably looks so small to y'all, but like, it looks so big to me. So like learning how to finish that baby season and walk into this totally new season of having this like legit little person depending on me and talking to me and needing things and learning. So
and busier.
She's so busy. She's so busy.
So busy. But I looked at those hands and I said they're small because my son, who's now 25, is 6'7", and his hands are huge. So those little hands look so small to me. Okay, now here's the fun part. So we all were talking about how we wish we could all sit in one big room with you guys and have lots of fun chocolates, snacks, and nuts, and all sorts of good things, and chips in honor of Kendra. But we can't. But we have the next best thing because we have a chat. And so you really can be with us. And we want to encourage you. Please leave your questions, leave your comments in the chat because we have a team behind the scenes watching. Jesse's watching. Melissa's watching. And so some of those we're going to pull later. So please
write in your questions.
And even better, when you do, even if you leave only one comment, but we want you to leave a lot, we have a giveaway at the end. We're not going to tell what it is yet.
It's a good one.
But you might have something to do with our next online Bible study. I'm just saying. So, and then also another fun thing we're going to do is a 2-minute activity. And in preparation for that, please right now get a pen and paper or pencil so that you can participate because when we start the clock, we don't want you having to run and find a pen and paper. So do that. But we're going to move into our next sort of sharing time, and we really want you to do this. And that is, we want to share our takeaways from probably your biggest takeaway from being in this study. But I really wanted to start with you, Nicki, not for being in this study with us, but you and I know what a privilege it is as people who've written books to be able to sit with your audience, walk alongside them through the book. It's very rare. And so I thought they would maybe like to hear sort of your heart or takeaway that you got while you were writing the book.
I love that question, Wendy.
Yeah.
It has been such a privilege to get to do this with online Bible studies, for sure. So I think for me, the greatest takeaway was being able to finally identify what I was feeling. So I share in the book that, I kept saying, I feel so lost. I don't know where I belong right now. And so learning how to put those emotions and those feelings into one of those 4 seasons has been so helpful for me. Like even just sitting down a few minutes ago when I was like, wait a second, I've shifted.
Yeah. Which is really cool, by the way.
So fast too.
Helpful to have that language. And, this isn't one of these concepts where we just put it down and go, okay, I got that. Like this is one of these things that is going to stick with us forever. Because we're going to keep transitioning, keep going through seasons and different cycles of life. And I think for me, it's just finally having someone in the scriptures we could get behind and study and really apply this to our lives personally.
Yeah. And it's, Nicki, it's because we love teaching Bible study. It is why it's so important. How many times have you read the story of Moses before, right? So many.
Yes, so many.
I've sat under people teaching it. I've read Exodus. It's unbelievable, but that living and active word, Hebrews 4:12 says, it came alive for you in a new way. Yeah. And so another thing to always just do is always be in the word.
Yeah.
All right, Jess.
Yeah, so I think something that I learned was I feel like I found myself in every single season, like simultaneously.
Interesting.
And I feel like I heard from a lot of people, like in the community group and on Study Central, like they were kind of saying the same thing. They're like, wait, I thought I was in development, but why am I seeing myself in separation? And so I feel like even seeing how fast when you came in here, you saying like yours shifted so quickly, I feel like it shifts all the time. Yeah. Even thinking about Eden and being her mom as like a toddler mom, but I'm also growing so much. And so I also see myself in development so much because of this season of life.
I see you in development as a worship leader.
Yeah.
Because that's something I've watched you continue to grow, and now
Very
you're learning
much.
guitar.
I'm learning guitar,
And
7 months in.
It's so fun to see that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think something that you wrote about finish, I'm probably going to mess up the words, but it was along the line of like, if you're moving forward, but you're looking back is causing you to not be able to move forward, you have to shift your focus.
Yes.
And
That's good. Yeah.
wow, pat on the back from the author herself. I know, but like, I feel like I keep having to reprioritize that thinking, because I do look back so often, but me looking back so much is hindering the growth and like that movement, because I want to continue to move. I want to be a healthy mom, a healthy worship leader, a healthy person from all aspects, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And if I keep looking back, it's going to hinder that movement.
Yeah.
So that's something crazy, but it's also, and I think you wrote this too, which is wild. And I never regurgitate things, guys. This is crazy for me.
This is great.
But I mean, you go back to that scripture of like, God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And so why should I be so focused on looking back when that awesome God is like right in front of us?
Yeah.
And so just kind of reprioritizing that for me constantly in every season.
It's because we crave what feels familiar.
Yeah.
And in
Oh,
every
that's good.
season that we go through, there's something in that last season that we're like, oh, I just want that feeling
that
again.
like cozy, happy.
Yeah.
It's comfortable and safe. It feels safe.
Yeah.
Even if it was a hard season, it's what we know.
Yeah.
And so it feels comforting, because looking into the unknown doesn't feel comforting at all.
Yeah. The unknown is so scary.
It is so scary.
But yeah.
All right, so I'm cheating a little because I'm going to share a few takeaways I found in comments along the way in the study that I just thought I really wanted to share. So one is from Monica. She said, I just finished with chapter 3 and it will take some time to digest. I found so many deep thoughts to go through and take into God's presence. And then the reflection questions revealed some serious wounds from my childhood. So now that they were brought into the light, capital L, I can grow in faith and know that our precious Lord will help me. And I discovered some patterns I just accepted that are not normal. At first I found it scary, but now as I'm writing this, I'm falling in love with Jesus. This is my favorite part. I sent you this. I'm falling in love with Jesus, who wants to do even more with my life, much more than I ever imagined I believed or I deserved. And then she wrote, this book is much more than it seems from the beginning. Which means you took her deep. And I love that, Nicki. Okay, and then Stella, I'm sharing yours because you've been with OBS. You were there with us so long ago, and you were just, Stella, you're just amazing. So she wrote, and I love that she talked about a holy now. She said, a holy now. 4 to 5 months ago, I knew I was stressed and tired. I had just celebrated my 25th anniversary at the company I worked for. A friend asked me to come to her office for a meeting. I assumed it was about a project we'd been working on. Well, it wasn't. She set me up for an interview at her place without telling me. I wasn't angry. It felt right. She was getting a promotion and needed someone to fill in her spot. The new manager and my friend are both Christians and had been praying for the right person to fill the new opening. I remember leaving that place and knowing God had new plans for me, a change, a holy now. The new place has 10 times the employees, but I don't feel stressed. I'm finally enjoying normal hours again. Only God, I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I'm ready to do what He has planned for me. Don't you love that you prepared someone for that? And for me, so I lived in Texas before I moved to Charlotte, and it was over 20 years ago, and I practiced law there. And we picked up and moved here, and I stopped working and stayed home with my kids and got a little part-time job at Proverbs. Very small amount of hours, and like I said, it was like 20 years ago. And I also joined a church and served on the women's ministry leadership team, which was also Melissa Taylor was there. So we have been friends that long. Isn't that crazy? And we served on that team, but serving on that team was stepping totally out of my comfort zone. I had never really been that involved in church, but that was the beginning of a development season that led to this cultivation season where I am now working here as a biblical content specialist, and I'm writing and teaching Bible study, and it's so precious. And I feel like, and I'm going to read my notes because I feel like my story confirms Nicki's words in such a powerful way that even in a hard transition season for me, moving from Texas to North Carolina, knowing maybe 5 people, it feels hard and lonely. God is always there with us, taking us from here to there.
That's good.
It's going to be my favorite phrase, because when we know he's taking us from here to there, we can be confident that he's with us every step of the way, and he's working behind the scenes. So he's working behind the scenes right now in this development season.
That's really good.
Okay, so now is something fun that we have. This is that 2-minute activity, so please grab your pen and paper right now. And we're going to start a 2-minute clock on the screen as soon as I tell you what we're supposed to do. And we want you to, if you've been writing your takeaway in the comments, that will help you for this, but we're going to be a little more specific here. So we want you to have your takeaway, but I'm going to give you a few thoughts to think about. So it might help you narrow it or write it in a way, because this is going to be something you'll save. It might be a marked moment where you heard from God, or a light bulb moment that changed your perspective, maybe on the season you're in, like what just happened with Nicki. Or maybe it was just part of being in this community of women, which has been such a blessing. Or maybe it was Moses' story. A few women said they had never gone through his life that way before. And so here's what we'd like you to do. You can write it in the form of a little short letter to yourself. You could write it in the form of a prayer that you're praying. You could write it as a statement or a declaration, or you could write it as a challenge to yourself. Any one of those things. But we want you to know that when you finish this card, we want it to be the thing you tuck in the back of the Bible or put in the nightstand of your drawer, so that you can always remember that and carry it forward from just what we've done in this study. So,
and I think something even too, as I'm reading these comments, if you are a little stuck of like where to go, because I think sometimes being vulnerable, even if you're by yourself right now watching this, is hard. So even looking at the comments right now, because y'all are saying really good stuff, like I wanted to read this earlier, but it said, which first of all, love this, Melissa's Heavenly Kitchen. She writes, I agree, learning all the seasons that we all go through and that we're not alone. I love knowing that we are always growing and changing, but our main God is constant. Our main constant is God. Well, but I think even just going through and reading those, and if something really stands out or something really hits you, like write that down, because that's what community is all about, you know?
That's good. All right, do you start the countdown?
Yeah, starting it.
are each going to share a very quick takeaway that we have from this time that we've spent in walking through this study. So my takeaway, it surprised me, y'all. It was community. It was being with you all. It was crazy. It just came like that. And I think it's because watching you pray for one another, encourage one another, and more than that, over these 4 weeks, being vulnerable. I mean, the vulnerability to share your stories, and then watching the comments where women come alongside other women and say, this is what happened to me when I walked through that, or praying for them, or sharing scripture was incredibly powerful. So to me, I have to say that it touched my heart, and community really is the key to what we do, you know?
Yeah. You're so good at community too, Wendy. You're really good at it. I would say my takeaway was really, I feel like every time, even now, I feel like I've studied Moses forever now, but I still find something new every time I open the pages of his story and his life. The Lord just really connects something different every time I study his life. So I think just going through this again with all of you and opening my Bible and reading the passages that everyone was reading and studying and doing the mini Bible study was just like, oh yeah, and just a lot of light bulbs that just keep going off. So keep studying the life of Moses. I mean, Wendy and I had a conversation about it. I barely even touched his life.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very broad overview, so there's so much more to keep studying. So I encourage you to keep digging into Moses' story. There's so much more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and mine actually weirdly just comes from, because I was going to say something different, and I just read a comment, and it's from Debbie Oliver Rasso. Shout out if I'm saying your name right. But she said, one of my hardest seasons has actually been one of my most fruitful seasons.
Yes,
and I think that's something to kind of keep in the back of your head, that you don't necessarily know what is going to come on the other side of it. But God is good. And even those hard seasons can produce fruit.
Yeah.
So
The refining
those really hard
could really create some beautiful fruit. That's great. Thank you, Debbie,
It's
so
really
much.
good. I think when I, and I'll even share with y'all, I'm in a season where I'm very anxious. I have a ton of anxiety right now. Praise God for my counselor. If you're not in counseling, go to counseling. I love counseling.
Amen.
I go every other Tuesday at 12 o'clock. Love her. But
So does Jake, your husband.
Oh
He
my
loves
gosh.
her.
He really does. Oh my gosh. But just thinking about that, it's this, I would say, is one of my hardest seasons. But thinking about, Debbie, what you said, this could also lead to one of my most fruitful seasons. And I have to trust that is going to happen. Because ultimately, what is faith for if we can't trust him equally in those hard seasons that we can in those really good seasons?
Yeah.
So
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
That's really important. And I think journaling is a great thing to do in a hard season. That is because that's how you really can find the fruit and the words and the times that God has been there for you.
Yeah.
Sadly, we don't write as much. We don't journal. I don't journal as much when I'm in the cultivation season.
I have pages and pages and pages.
literally, that was my homework, which is funny that you would say that. That's my homework from last week's counseling. She said, write 5 minutes with no prompt and just see what comes out.
Wow.
So
That's
next
good.
Tuesday, we'll see what happens when I turn that into counseling.
Nikki, this is your time. We just really wanted you to have a special time where you could look at our sweet friends that have just spent these last 4 weeks with us and just share from your heart.
Yeah. Well, as we close out this study, I just want to leave you with some words of encouragement and some reminders for the specific season that you are in right now. So let me talk to those of us who are in the season of development right now, because I would say every season holds really hard things, but this is probably one of the most humbling seasons that we can go through with the Lord. And just as that realization when I sat down and I thought about everything that I've been experiencing and I realized that I'm there, just know that humility precedes honor. And so when God humbles us to a position where we just feel like maybe all the odds are against us and we feel like there's just a lot of things that we need to work on, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a really good, healthy thing to see those things. And with God, when you go back to Moses, I don't like to use the Bible to make us feel better, okay? But at least you haven't killed somebody today, okay? So
that's a great reminder. If any sticky note you feel excited to write about,
just keep that in mind, okay?
Right
So
on
at
your
least
mirror.
it's not that bad, okay? So for those of us that are developing right now, just know that there's something really good and fruitful that's going to come from this. And then I want to talk to those of you that are in the season of separation for a minute, because this, I would say, is the loneliest season. And this is a place where you really do feel like you're waking up day after day after day going, where do I belong right now?
Yeah.
And I want you to remember how God had to literally separate Moses from his family, his friends, the life that he had always known for 40 years. Again, at least it's not going to take you 40 years, okay? Hopefully not. But God had to separate him for that long in order for him to find that moment at the burning bush where he would get that call and that sanctification from that call in his life. And so
And the quiet, like
yes,
the quiet, to hear the voice,
yes,
to see,
yeah. So if God is separating you right now from something or someone or even just a situation in your life, embrace the quiet. That's what we're going to say in that position, in that place, because I don't know about y'all, but I've never heard God yell at me. I wish
I know
he would yell at me. Like there's days where I'm like, please just yell, right? But God always speaks in the stillness and the quietness. So embrace those places, and
it's really good.
just remember, this doesn't last forever. You're not always going to feel this way, and it's going to come. It's going to change. I promise it will happen. And then let's talk to those of you that are in that season of cultivation. I know that this is an exciting season of life. It feels really full. It feels a little bit like you're at capacity.
exhausted.
And I want you to know that in this season, it's really easy to start to believe that busyness is effectiveness with God. And it's actually the complete opposite. So those of you that are in a season of cultivation, I want to challenge you with finding that Sabbath rest. And you're really good about teaching on this too. But just finding that place with God where you can rest and just be still. That's one of the things my counselor keeps saying to me. And I'm like, how do I be still in this season where there's so much going on, but you really have to force yourself to stop and just to listen to what God's saying to you, because this won't last forever. And eventually you'll get to that next place where you're like, okay, all of that cultivating, everything that God was growing and developing and separating inside of me has moved into a new thing. And then maybe you're going to arrive at the place where you're finished. And so let me just share some words of encouragement for those of you that are in that finish season. I would say this: you're not as finished as you think you are, okay? I think sometimes we look at finish as like the finish line, right? Like, I'm done, this is over. And for sure, there are times in our lives where we are finished. I remember before the boys came home, I have a friend who's also a counselor. I keep a lot of healthy people around me to help me stay healthy.
I love that.
And I had her come over and talk to our family because our family was finishing a season of what it looked like for us to be a family. And she said something, and this is something I think somebody needs to hear tonight. She said, do something really tangible to like mark it, to say like, this is where our family was, and this is where this part finishes, but this is what's coming next. And so one of the things that we did is we bought a flag of the boys' country and the American flag, and we all went out to, I'm going to start crying, we all went out to the pole, and we hung both of those flags. And it was at that moment that we knew our family, as it was finished, and there was a good family. It was a good story. But God has an even better story ahead.
That's amazing.
It's such a great lesson for the kids too.
Yes. Yeah. My girls really, they enjoyed that moment. So, I'm sad that it's over. You know how depressing it is after finishing an online study, because it's so much getting to talk with you guys and sharing, but I want you to know I'm still here for you, and I would love to continue to have these conversations with you. So I'm ridiculously easy to find on all forms of social media, so find me there. But, in just a second, we're going to be doing our giveaway. But I want to make sure that you know about what's coming next, not what's now, but what's next for online Bible studies. Because for those of you, you know what, do this. If you've been around since the very beginning, where Made to Crave, that very first online Bible study that we ever did, drop that in a comment. I would love to know who we still have from that very first study. But it is time to shift seasons here at Online Bible Studies, and I'm so excited that I get to tell you about what is next for Online Bible Studies, because y'all, this book just showed up at my house yesterday. I saw it today. I started looking at it. It is by the lovely Wendy Blight, and it is called Rest for Your Soul, a Bible study on solitude, silence, and prayer. And I can't think of a better book to be right after this one.
I know.
Because we really do need to start putting this stuff into practice.
Yeah.
And y'all, if you probably know Wendy by now at this point, but if you don't, what you need to know is that there have been tangible points in my life, Wendy, where I can look back and say, Wendy wrote this, Wendy spoke this into me, I heard Wendy give this message, and it's like a very tangible place in my ministry that I can look back and something shifted. And as I was reading through this book, first of all, I love, this is probably going to turn into longer than what it's supposed to be, but don't get me started how much I love this, because it's so good. I love that you give so many questions of just reflection, like let's stop right here and right now. And that, when I think about the places where Wendy has spoken into me, that's what it feels like when he's like, no, let's stop. Let's just see what God is saying. Yes, very intentional. So you guys want to go on Amazon, Proverbs 31 Ministries, wherever you want to buy this book, get this book, tell your friends. I'm telling you what, I've signed up. It's going to be an incredible online Bible study, and I can't wait. So, and look, it's so, like, y'all, it's a really well done book, and I appreciate a very well done book. So
thank you so much.
All right, Jessie.
Yes.
Do you have some giveaways?
We sure do, and those winners are going to get a copy of Wendy's book, and we talked about this, but Wendy's going to sign those for you.
Yes.
Which is awesome, so I'll read those names. Okay, so I'm going to throw this lower third. If I read your name, send me an email. I just put it at the bottom of the screen with your name and your address. All right, Debbie Oliver Rasso. Literally, your just comment spoke to me so much, I just had to pull you as a winner. Brenda Olson.
Woohoo!
Gina, and this is a hard last name, so forgive me. Coney.
Sounds
Koehne. And then Betty Lou Curry. Because
Betty Lou.
what a fun name that
is a fun name.
That's like the name of a song from a long time
Betty
ago.
Lou
Get
Curry.
Napped Tonight.
Yeah.
I remember that song. I remember my mom singing that song. That's so funny.
So if you heard your name, email me. Wendy's going to sign those books, and we'll get those to you so you can start the study.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sad this night. We've been looking forward to it, a little nervous about it, because usually Melissa hosts. This was a big thing for me to host. So
And I'm never in front of the camera. So
yeah, she's never.
You're seeing me in rare form.
Yeah. So it was a bunch of new stuff. But we're so thankful, and Nicki, thank you for your kind words. And I really would like to invite you to join us for this study. I would love nothing more than to continue studying. I know our whole team would love to continue studying God's Word with you. So we hope you'll join us. And it starts September 5th. And once again, Nicki, you are such a gift and such a blessing. Before we sign off, I'm going to say one thing. One of my fondest memories with you is our kids went to the same college here in Charlotte. And there was a day where they had a shooting at the university many years ago. And Nicki and I, and who was with us? I can't remember which one of your daughters.
Oh, Taylor.
Taylor.
I was like, wait.
Yeah, Taylor.
There were other people there, though.
But she had a friend, too, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, anyway. She called me, and we just went, and we walked the campus, and we prayed. And it's one of my most marked moments, really, in my life, to just go walk on that campus where there was so much hurt. So that's her heart. And please do, if you don't follow her on Instagram especially, please do all the stuff at the farm. But more than that, she just ministers to you all the time. So thank you for the gift of just who you are in your ministry. We're so thankful to have had you come and be with us.
Oh, my goodness. It's been such a privilege.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We love you guys. See you soon. you.